Matt, I hope you're doing well this morning, calling in from Austin, Texas. I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to you now and let you take it away.
Thanks, Tom. Can everyone hear me okay? All right. So, one reason I'm really excited about today is if we think back a year ago to where we were before the holidays. We were in the middle of COVID, or towards the end of COVID, let's say. We were having conversations of are shoppers going to buy? Do merchants have inventory? And this year we're on the opposite end of the spectrum. We still have uncertainty, but it's the world's slowing down, inflation's up, but now merchants have inventory, and shoppers are saying, "I want a deal." And so I find this is my 5th year at BigCommerce, and every Cyber Week is a different set of challenges. And I know for me at BigCommerce, me as a merchant and me as a shopper, there are a lot of news this year. And so we'll go through some of the things BigCommerce saw as a platform on Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Let's call it Cyber Week overall. We'll go through a handful of tips for the holiday period overall, or holiday period coming up. Like Tom said, post questions in the chat. I think these are the most fun and engaging when we have a good dialogue between what I'm sharing and what you guys have experienced on your side as well. And I'll do my best to answer questions as we go. So if you don't know BigCommerce, we're a SaaS-based e-commerce platform. We think we have the industry's most versatile and open enterprise e-commerce solution. We use the term open SaaS to talk about our capabilities. Think of the flexibility and customization that you're used to having on an on-prem or a custom built solution with all the benefits of SaaS. We support merchants that are fast growing, new, and established, both B2C and B2B. Both those can be done on the same platform. And I know for me as a merchant, we started off B2C, but we found increasingly the opportunity was much, much larger on the B2B side. And BigCommerce makes it easy to not only sell to consumers, but also to other businesses as well. And as a teaser getting into this, our merchants experience significant sales increase year over year for Cyber Week overall. We outpaced the overall retail performance, which I think is super exciting for our 60,000 or so brands. We all know this. It's a scary world thinking about what's going to happen next month, next quarter, next year around things like inflation, recession, the economy overall. But like I said before, Cyber Week was record breaking for us and the industry. Adobe Analytics said Thanksgiving sales were up, Black Friday sales were up, and the numbers are just staggering, 5 billion and 9 billion respectively. I'm going to talk about the Cyber Week days and sales performance by day a little bit, because I think it's interesting that the Cyber Week, I think back when we were kids, it would go to the mall, go to Toys R Us on on Black Friday. And then Cyber Monday came and e-com started to sell. And then Cyber Monday became, let's start sales earlier and earlier and earlier and earlier. I think that's a trend we've seen the last few years, and it's getting longer. And our data shows the same thing. Thanksgiving sales were up 23%. Black Friday sales up 30%, 31%. Cyber Monday up 32%. And just by day, you can see Cyber Monday and Black Friday are still the biggest, but brands increasingly were open and selling at peak volumes for longer this year than they've ever done before. We saw some interesting things around devices. I won't go into all the details here, but we continue to see high proliferation of mobile tablets, and it's increasingly we're finding that brands that have a presence that's optimized to different ways shoppers want to shop, whether it be on mobile, tablet, on a channel, whether it's in person, online, offline, all those need to be as optimized as possible, because shoppers are looking for deals. They're looking to buy in all different ways and increasingly in more places than ever before. I think one of the, if I step back before Cyber Week, and I think we're gonna see this as we go into the holiday seasons too, more and more merchants and the industry overall is sitting on more inventory than ever before. A year ago, we saw brands struggling to fill their shelves. We saw long lead times. We saw long transit times. And so brands had to buy longer in advance, which meant you sit on more inventory. I think what we're seeing is the catch up of all those advanced buys, and it turned into sales this year. And I think that's one of the reasons we saw e-com, besides shoppers wanting, we saw brands having so much to sell this year than they've ever had before. Some of the specific things, e-com continued to rise face the headwinds. We've all seen that. I've shared some of the stats. On our side, we saw more alternative payment methods this year than ever before. I think we saw something like a 33% increase in things like buy now, pay later, which is, I think, super interesting because I personally was a skeptic for a long time of does buy now, pay later increase sales? And I think we're continuing to see shoppers become more comfortable with it. We're consistently seeing merchants that adopt those solutions sell more. And I think we'll continue to see that going into the holidays. One more on your own site. We saw brands like, as we all go back to real life, we saw categories like fashion spike, and usually you see fashion every year increase, but we saw things like travel and luggage continue to spike faster this year than we've ever seen before, which I think is a interesting thing that shoppers are going back to real life. They're buying for things that enable them to have a lifestyle experience rather than what they need to fill their home, which was the trend, I think, last year during this time. More sales channels means more diversified holiday spending. I don't know about y'all, but now I buy on my phone, not just on my phone, but I get text messages. I get Facebook messages saying, hey, you left my store. Have you thought about buying? I get text messages from channels asking me to come back. And so I think we're seeing more, our data shows we saw more merchants selling in more places and more channels, whether it be the traditional ones like Amazon or the social commerce channels than ever before. Not only for discovery of products, but also shopping. And I think we'll continue to see that going into the holiday season this year and going forward. Let's go into 2022 holiday season now. And again, jump in the chat and tell me if anything I'm seeing on my side is different from y'all, please, for Cyber Week. So as we're going to 2022 holiday season, I brought up the inventory, but I think the challenge now is, can retailers empty their shelves and can they sell fast enough this year? We saw shoppers were buying earlier for Cyber Week. I think we'll continue to see that through the holiday season. I wouldn't be surprised to start seeing deals happening all of December this year. And again, think back to last year, it was, should we discount it all? And now everyone is discounting, they're starting earlier. We talked omnichannel on the last slide. We talked buy now, pay later. And I think I bring those up. I bring those up here because these are things that we'll continue to see for the holiday season if you have time to put these in place. There's still time to put these in place now before you get into the holiday season. These all benefit you next year as well. Another one, it's one of my pet peeves as a supply chain geek and as 100% of what I buy is online. There's nothing more frustrating than going to a website and not seeing when you're going to get the product or having options of how you get it. One of my favorite parts of what ShipBot gives a merchant is the ability to do fast, cheap, 2-day, or just generally fast shipping. Even if you don't use a 3PL right now, though, go to your website, make sure you have clear delivery estimates, when's the product going to get there, and make sure your shoppers have the ability to pick a fast and cheap, or a cheap and cheerful, slower delivery, or a faster, more expensive, or even a BOPUS option if that's available to you. But I'm always amazed when I have this conversation with merchants. They don't have this today, and it's not something that's that difficult to put in place. We have some of the capabilities natively on BigCommerce. There's a whole bunch of different partner solutions to help you do it. So tactically, what do we do? I'm going to go through 5 specific things. We'll have a quick conversation around each. Around what I think you can get done between now and even the next 2 weeks, let's say, before the holiday season really gets into full steam. First, double down on your top performing sales channels. Do a feed audit, for example. How are your listings on the various channels? Are you spending on the right? Do a quick analysis on what ROAS might look like by channel, if you don't know that already, and double down. We saw shoppers continue for the last year, and even during the Cyber Week, we saw brands continue to sell. The best performing brands continue to sell on more channels, and shoppers are increasingly looking and buying in many places. So double down there. Prepare for incoming traffic. Number 2, I mentioned before, BigCommerce was 100% uptime for the 9th straight year during Cyber Week. So if you're on a SaaS platform, maybe traffic isn't your problem. If you're on an on-prem solution, I'd encourage you to make sure you can handle the volume. But I'd say the incoming traffic is not just can your site handle it, but is it clear? Is it easy? When shoppers come to you, are they finding an easy site that's intuitive and to get them to buy? I'd encourage you to take something like Lucky Orange or record your shoppers on the storefront a little bit and watch, see if they get stuck anywhere in the process on the storefront, and make sure you're ready for that increased volume. The worst thing you want is a lot of traffic from a holiday season and not be able to convert. The next one, and it's related, but I think of the checkout now. You get someone to add to cart. How do you make that as easy as possible to click buy? Whether it be the buy now, pay later or alternative payment methods I mentioned before, whether it be the one-click checkouts, whether it be different payment options, whether it be different shipping options, even things like shipping insurance or product protection. But I'd say what I'd encourage all of you to do is spend a couple minutes, go to your website and see how many clicks it takes from when you put an item in the cart until buy. I think it's a super intuitive learning for us business owners to say, we've got great stuff to sell. We might have a storefront design that looks right, but when you get to checkout, is it as easy as possible? Number 4, I mentioned before that sales started during the holiday season, or excuse me, during Cyber Week early. I think we're going to continue to see that in the holiday season. And so let's make sure our marketing reflects that. So first, what's our holiday offer? I've got a coffee subscription. It's super interesting. I keep waiting for a deal, but they say you only get a deal if you give a gift to a friend. And their compelling offers will make it very, very cheap and easy for you to give someone their first order of coffee, because they're probably going to come back and buy it. So for each of you, what's your brand offer that's compelling that gets folks to come back? I've seen free VIP shopper offers to spend $100 to get free shipping next year. I've seen buy one, get one free. I've seen increasing discounts as you buy more items if you're a unit-based business. But I'd say start with what's your compelling offer. And then I'd say the email campaigns or text, if you do that, and we're seeing lots of brands start using text or even the social channels. How do you start those messages early? I'm seeing, personally as a shopper, I'm starting to see many of the email offers starting to come from my favorite brands. I'd encourage all of you to think, what's my offer? How do I get loaded up my ESP or my text campaign, and start that soon? I believe from a personal perspective, I think we're going to see lots of merchants trying to discount as much as they can to clear the shelves this holiday season. And if you wait too late, shoppers are going to already have, most shoppers are going to be trying to find deals early so they don't have to fight the rush. Make sure the products get delivered. And I think starting with the email campaigns early is a great idea. Customer service and support. Again, another pet peeve. If you're using something like a Gorgeous or a CS tool in your storefront, those are great. Make it easy for your CS team to engage with shoppers that are in your storefront that might need help. I personally don't buy from anyone that doesn't make returns easy. So I'd say a return policy on your storefront, which is part of support, but make it easy for shoppers to buy, and make it easy for them to ask questions, engage with you, and get quick responses. Because again, if you can't get help if a shopper can't get help on your site, they're probably going to go somewhere else when they have a question. And that's a wrap. That's the content I had today. I was hoping we'd be a little bit more engaging in the chat. Maybe had some conversations. Anything else you guys want to talk to from a BigCommerce perspective, or mine as a merchant or me as a shopper?
Hey, Matt, that was awesome. Really appreciate everything that you were able to share there. We do have several questions that came up actually during your presentation. We've got one that somebody missed. Are you able to kind of repeat the daily growth rates that you were seeing year over year that you mentioned a moment ago?
Sure, I'll pull them up so it's easy to see. But I went day by day here. We've got stats by time. I'll share as a follow-up here. But Thanksgiving Day we saw 30% increase. We saw categories on Thanksgiving Day itself. We actually saw fashion and apparel have our biggest bump. When I looked at Black Friday itself, we saw a 30% increase or 31% increase. And Cyber Monday, we saw a 32% year-on-year increase in GMV.
That's awesome. I'm also curious as well. Somebody asked this, Jessica asked this, and I was also curious as well. You mentioned a couple of tools that folks can use to kind of do like a site audit or to be able to watch the shopping process. Can you share those that are top of mind for you that folks can easily leverage and like you said, try to optimize for potentially fewer clicks during the checkout process or to maybe find where shoppers are getting lost along the way?
I probably should know more of these, Tom. Lucky Orange is what I use on my storefront, and I know it's a popular one in our marketplace, but that's where I'd start. I actually don't know Hotjar, Jessica, but Lucky Orange does some cool things. It allows you to have video recordings of certain parts of the site and also heat maps around where shoppers are clicking. What I found for me as a personal anecdote is I sell bike parts and to bike mechanics. Tom knows I'm an avid cyclist. And what we found over the last year was, while we thought we were selling to bike mechanics, actually it was auto mechanics, boat mechanics, anyone working on small engines that was starting to, that were buying a considerable amount more from us. And the way a bike mechanic buys, they spend time doing geeky stuff like me. They look at pictures, they look at colors, they look at design. Where an auto mechanic just wants their stuff, they want specs. And so what we found through using Lucky Orange was different buyer behaviors than what we thought, which allowed us to tinker with our website a little bit as well.
Hey, Matt, speaking of that, Craig's kind of curious, as you're implementing a solution like that, how does that potentially have the impact on updating like a privacy page or things like that? I know that could get into maybe some legal conversations. So I'm not sure if you're able to maybe talk about what y'all maybe did when you implemented Lucky Orange, or if it might be better to have Craig join y'all in the booth and maybe have a bit more individualized conversation there.
Yeah, I don't have Lucky Orange on my checkout page at all, where shoppers are typing any personal information in. I use it just on my storefront itself.
Got it.
Craig, I'll look into that either on our in the booth after or before we catch up separately if you'd like. But I don't have anything on the checkout page, and I don't see any individual. I see behaviors on the storefront rather than what individuals are typing in. So I haven't actually thought about privacy, but maybe I did. I just missed it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, like you said, you're not recording anything that's personal information. You're not able to see the individual name of the site visitor, just that broader traffic. That's great. I've got two other quick questions for you. You mentioned ROAS, which I know is an acronym from the advertising world, but for those of us that maybe aren't on the marketing team or the advertising side of the house, can you talk about what ROAS is and how it can impact?
Sure. Yeah, so ROAS, the definition of ROAS is return on ad spend. At the simplest level, if we don't want to, there's geekier or more complicated ways to do it, but take two columns. What did you spend in advertising on a specific channel? How many sales came from that specific channel? There's way more detail-oriented ways to do this, right? Whether it's product, whether it's lower funnel or top funnel ads. But at the simple level is start with how much you spend on a channel, how many sales came from the channel. Or just anecdotally, what did you sell on the channel? And does that reflect where you focus in terms of time and effort? Might be a different way to think about it. If we're just getting started thinking about ROAS. What I find is, one more time, what I find on this topic is we all think Amazon. But when you look at profitability, for example, we might spend a lot of money for lots of top line sales on Amazon, but the profitability of those sales aren't actually where we want them to be. And so I think as you get a little bit more sophisticated around ROAS is not the revenue per ad spend, but how much profitability do you have by sales channel? And I think that's where, again, it's probably a little bit more sophisticated, but that's where the fun, I think, comes in around advertising. Isn't can you get more sales, but can you make more money? Can you profit more from where you spend your money?
Love it. And then last question, because we are at time. Mike, it sounds like he is selling on BigCommerce currently. And I was wondering if this type of information is available for BigCommerce merchants and where folks can kind of learn more about where you're pulling stats from and things like that. So I believe y'all posted a pretty substantial Black Friday, Cyber Monday recap. So Matt, if you're not able to drop that in the chat, because I'm putting you on the spot, Mike, maybe you're able to join the booth there and they can share the link to this deep dive data that they recently put together. So
I've been, Tom, more stuff will come out today, tomorrow, in the next couple of days. Mike, I'm happy to chat with you in the meantime, but I think you guys get a little sneak peek of what hasn't been released. All the detail hasn't been released publicly yet. It's coming out in the next day or so.
That is awesome. Well, Matt, thank you so much for your time. This is really insightful. Love seeing the trends. Certainly appreciate the tips around, SMS, customer service, and like you said, optimizing that storefront for the checkout process. So thank you so much. And, I hope you have a great day, and thank you everybody for joining.
Thanks for having me, Tom. Thanks, y'all.